People ask me what to buy before 2026. They want a stock ticker. They want the next Apple or Nvidia. I tell them, the asset you need isn't traded on any exchange. You can't buy it with money. But without it, you'll be forced to sell everything you own at the worst possible time. They look confused. They want something they can buy on their phone. The asset I'm talking about is optionality. The ability to make choices when everyone else is backed into corners with no options left. And if you don't build it before 2026, you'll spend the next decade vulnerable to every crisis, every crash, every shock that comes. If you're ready to understand what separates people who survive crises from people who get destroyed by them, hit that like button, because what I'm about to show you isn't exciting, but it's the difference between financial freedom and financial fragility. Before we get into this, do me a favor. Drop a comment and tell me where you're watching from. I want to know who's here. City, state, country. Just let me know. Here's the truth. In 2008, two types of people existed. People with optionality bought assets at 50% off and made fortunes. People without optionality sold everything at the bottom just to survive. Same crisis, opposite outcomes. The difference wasn't intelligence or luck. It was optionality. I'm 94 years old. I've lived through 14 recessions. I've watched people who looked successful get completely wiped out in months. And I've watched people who looked ordinary become wealthy beyond imagination. The difference is always the same. Optionality. I'm going to show you the 5 sources of optionality you need to build before 2026. Not theories, not abstractions. Specific, measurable sources of optionality that give you choices when everyone else has none. The first source is the most obvious, but almost nobody builds it. Let's start. Number. Source. 1. Cash reserves, 12 or 24 months minimum. The first source of optionality is cash. Boring, inflation-losing cash sitting in a money market earning 5%. Not invested, not deployed, just sitting there doing nothing. Here's why this matters more than anything else. Cash gives you time. Time to think. Time to wait. Time to avoid forced decisions. And when you have time, you make rational choices. When you don't have time, you make desperate choices. And desperate choices destroy wealth permanently. Let me tell you about 2 business owners in 2008. Both ran successful companies. Both looked wealthy on paper. Owner A had a $3 million net worth, house worth $800,000, business worth $1.5 million, investment accounts worth $700,000. He looked set, but he had $8,000 in his checking account. That was it. Everything else was tied up in assets he couldn't easily access. When 2008 hit, his business revenue dropped 60% almost overnight. He had payroll to meet, rent to pay, suppliers demanding payment. He needed $40,000 immediately just to keep the doors open. He didn't have it. Everything was in assets he couldn't liquidate quickly. He tried to get a loan. Banks weren't lending. He tried to pull from his brokerage account. The market was down 40% and still falling. He'd have to sell at massive losses. He tried to borrow against his house. Nobody was giving home equity loans. 2 months later, he shut down the business, had to sell his house at a loss to pay business debts, sold his investment accounts at the absolute bottom. By 2010, his $3 million net worth was down to $900,000. He lost $2.1 million in 18 months, not because his business was bad, not because he was stupid, because he had no cash buffer, no optionality. When the crisis came, he was forced to sell everything at the worst possible time. Owner B had a $2.8 million net worth, house worth $600,000, business worth $1.2 million, investment accounts worth $800,000, but he also had $200,000 in cash sitting in a money market. Almost 7% of his net worth just sitting there earning 3% while inflation was 3.5%. On paper, he was losing money to inflation. His accountant told him this was stupid. Put that cash to work, they said. He ignored them. He kept the cash. When 2008 hit, his business revenue also dropped 60%. Same shock, same problem, but he had $200,000 in cash. He paid payroll from the cash. He paid rent from the cash. He had time. He didn't panic. He made rational decisions. He cut expenses where it made sense. He kept his best employees. He rode out the storm. By 2010, his business had stabilized. By 2012, it was growing again. His investment accounts had recovered. His house value came back. By 2015, his $2.8 million was back to $3.5 million. He not only survived, he came out ahead because he didn't have to sell anything at the bottom. Same crisis. One person had optionality, one didn't. The difference was $200,000 in cash that people said was stupid to hold. Here's the arithmetic that explains everything. If you have 12 months of expenses in cash, you can lose your job and not panic for a year. You can wait for the right opportunity. You can negotiate. You can be patient. If you have zero cash, losing your job means immediate panic. You take the first offer. You sell assets at losses. You make desperate decisions. The opportunity cost of cash is real. If you hold $200,000 in cash, earning 5% while stocks earn 10%, you're losing $10,000 per year in potential gains. But the cost of not having cash when you need it is catastrophic. It's the difference between surviving the crisis that makes you rich and being destroyed by the crisis that makes others rich. In 2020, when COVID hit, I had $140 billion in cash at Berkshire. People have been mocking me for 2 years. Warren's losing his touch. He's sitting on all this cash earning nothing. He should deploy it. Then the crisis came. Markets crashed 35% in 3 weeks. Companies were desperate for capital. I deployed $10 billion in 2 weeks into companies at prices I'll never see again. Why? Could I do that? Because I had optionality. I had cash when nobody else did. The people who mocked me for holding cash were the same people forced to sell at the bottom to meet margin calls. How much cash do you need? Minimum 12 months of expenses. 24 months is better. If you're self-employed or work in a volatile industry, 24 months is mandatory. And here's the key. This cash is not for investing. It's not for opportunities. It's insurance against forced decisions. You don't touch it unless you absolutely must. Stop right now. How many months of expenses do you have in cash? Not invested, not in stocks, not in retirement accounts. Actual cash you can access in 24 hours. If the answer is less than 6 months, you don't have optionality. You have fragility. And when 2 out of 26 brings whatever crisis it brings, you'll be the one forced to sell while people with cash are buying. But cash alone isn't enough if your expenses are too high. That's the second source. That's none. Source 2. Low fixed costs. Cut your monthly nut. The second source of optionality is low fixed costs. Your monthly nut, the amount you must pay every month no matter what, determines how much optionality you have. High fixed costs are a prison. Low fixed costs are freedom. Here's why this matters. If your fixed costs are $15,000 per month, you need to earn $15,000 every single month just to break even. You can't take risks. You can't turn down bad opportunities. You can't wait for good opportunities. You're trapped on a treadmill that never stops. But if your fixed costs are $4,000 per month, you have options. You can take a lower-paying job you actually enjoy. You can start a business that doesn't make money for the first year. You can say no to clients or customers you don't want to work with. You can wait. Let me tell you about two lawyers who worked at the same firm in Manhattan. Both made partner in 2015. Both were earning $650,000 per year by 2018. Lawyer A lived large. $12,000 per month apartment on the Upper West Side, 2 car leases totaling $2,400 per month. Private school for 2 kids, $75,500 per month. Country club, $2,000 per month. His fixed costs, the things he had to pay every month no matter what, were $25,000. He was living on $600,000 of his $650,000 income. He looked successful. Everyone thought he had made it, but his optionality was zero. He needed $300,000 minimum every year just to survive. If anything happened to his income, he was finished. Lawyer B made the same $650,000, but he lived differently. $30,500 per month apartment in Brooklyn. No car. He took the subway. Kids in public school, zero cost, no country club. His fixed costs were $6,000 per month, $72,000 per year. He was living on $150,000 and saving $500,000 annually. He looked less successful than Lawyer A. His apartment was smaller. His kids went to public school. He rode the subway. But his optionality was massive. He only needed $72,000 per year to maintain his lifestyle. In 2020, both lawyers got burned out from big law. The 70-hour weeks, the stress, the clients they hated, they both wanted out. Lawyer A couldn't leave. His fixed costs were $25,000 per month. If he quit, how would he pay for the apartment, the cars, the private schools, the country club? He was trapped. He had to stay at the firm grinding it out, getting more burned out every year. By 2024, he's still there at 50 years old, completely miserable, but unable to leave because his life requires $300,000 minimum annually. Lawyer B quit in 2021. He'd saved $2.5 million over 5 years. His fixed costs were only $6,000 per month. He started doing legal consulting on his own terms, makes $120,000 per year, working 20 hours per week, only takes clients he likes, spends more time with his kids, has complete freedom. His low fixed costs gave him optionality that Lawyer A will never have. Same starting point, same income, completely different lives. The difference was fixed costs. Here's the arithmetic. If your fixed costs are $10,000 per month, you need $120,000 per year minimum. That means you need passive income or a job generating at least $120,000 to maintain your lifestyle. If your fixed costs are $3,000 per month, you only need $36,000 per year. The lower number gives you dramatically more optionality. I live in the same house I bought in 1958 for $31,500. It's worth maybe $1.4 million today. People ask me why I don't upgrade to a mansion. Here's why. The house I have does everything I need. It's comfortable. Upgrading to a $15 million house would increase my fixed costs, property taxes, insurance, maintenance, staff. Those increased fixed costs would reduce my optionality. Even though I could easily afford them, every dollar of fixed costs you add is a dollar of freedom you give up. And in 2026, when uncertainty hits, the people with low fixed costs will have options. The people with high fixed costs will be trapped. Look at your bank statement right now. Add up everything you must pay every month, mortgage or rent, car payments, insurance, subscriptions, memberships, everything that bills automatically. If that number is more than 50% of your take-home income, you don't have optionality. You're one crisis away from forced decisions. Cut the country club. Sell the expensive car. Move to a cheaper place. Every dollar you cut from fixed costs is a dollar of freedom you buy. But low fixed costs aren't enough If you can only do one thing, that's the third source. Stop for a second. Let me ask you something. If you lost your job tomorrow, how many months could you survive without making desperate decisions? If the answer is less than 12 months, you're fragile. You don't have optionality. You're gambling that nothing goes wrong. And in 2026, something will go wrong. Yes. Source 3. Portable skills, transferable across industries. The third source of optionality is portable skills. Skills that work in multiple industries, multiple companies, multiple contexts. The more portable your skills, the more options you have when your current situation falls apart. Here's why this matters. If you've spent 20 years becoming incredibly specialized in one narrow thing, you have exactly one option. If that industry dies, if that company fails, if that skill becomes obsolete, you're finished. You have no optionality. You have expertise that nobody wants anymore. But if you've built skills that transfer across industries, sales, writing, analysis, management, communication, you have many options. When one door closes, you have 10 others you can walk through. Let me tell you about two people who worked in print journalism. Both were 45 years old in 2010. Both had worked at major newspapers for 20 years. Both were excellent at their jobs. Person A was a print layout specialist, spent 20 years becoming the best at designing newspaper pages for print. Could do layouts faster and better than anyone, made $85,000 per year, highly valued by the newspaper. Person B was a reporter who had also learned digital skills. Could report, write, shoot video, edit, post online, manage social media. Made the same $85,000 per year. Seen as solid, but not specialized. Then newspapers started dying. Print advertising collapsed. The papers couldn't afford the staff. In 2012, both got laid off. Person A applied everywhere, but nobody needed print layout specialists anymore. The skill was obsolete. Papers were going digital. The few print positions left paid $35,000 and had 200 applicants. At 47 years old, his 20 years of expertise was worthless. He ended up taking a job at a print shop, making $42,000 per year. His career was over. Person B had options. Could work for online publications. Could do content marketing for companies. Could freelance for multiple clients. Could start his own digital media company. His skills transferred. Within 6 months, he was freelancing and making $95,000 per year. By 2015, he had built a digital content agency making $180,000 per year. His portable skills gave him options Person A never had. Same starting point, same layoff, different optionality. Person A had one option and it disappeared. Person B had 10 options. Here's another example. Two consultants, both 50 years old and 20. Both specialized. Consultant A was an SAP implementation specialist. Spent 25 years becoming an expert in SAP software for manufacturing companies. Made $220,000 per year. Extremely valuable in his niche. Consultant B was a general business consultant who could do strategy, operations, change management, and had learned multiple software systems. Made $180,000 per year. Less specialized, more general. COVID hit. Manufacturing slowed down. SAP implementations got delayed or canceled. Companies weren't spending $2 million on new software systems during a pandemic. Consultant A's phone stopped ringing. His highly specialized skill wasn't needed. He went from $220,000 to $40,000 in a year. At 51 years old, he was stuck. His expertise only worked in one narrow context, and that context had disappeared. Consultant B had immediate options. Companies still needed general business help. cost cutting, process improvement, remote work setup, crisis management. He pivoted to helping companies adapt to COVID. His portable skills meant he could solve multiple types of problems in multiple industries. He actually made more money in 2020 than 2019 because he had optionality. Here's the arithmetic. If you have one skill that works in one industry, you have one option. If that option disappears, you're at zero. But if you have 3 skills that each work in 5 industries, you have 15 options. More options equals more optionality. The most portable skills are sales. Every company needs revenue. Writing. Every company needs content. Analysis. Every company needs data understood. Management. Every company needs people led. Communication. Every company needs messages clear. These skills never go obsolete. They transfer to any industry. They give you optionality. I never specialized. I learned accounting, sales, management, investing, insurance, retail, manufacturing. People said I should focus, pick one thing, go deep. I ignored them. My generalist approach gave me optionality. When opportunities came in different industries, I could evaluate them all because I understood the basics of how different businesses worked. Charlie Munger had the same approach. Lawyer, investor, architect, business operator, never specialized. Built a latticework of mental models from multiple disciplines. That breadth gave him optionality that pure specialists never had. Think about your skills right now. If your industry collapsed tomorrow, what could you do? If your answer is, I don't know, or nothing else pays this well, you don't have optionality. You're trapped in your current situation. Start building portable skills. Learn to sell. Learn to write clearly. Learn to analyze data. Learn to manage people. These skills transfer everywhere and give you options when your current path disappears. But portable skills don't matter if you need too much money to live. That's the 4th source. Now, source 4, low personal burn rate. Be happy spending less. The 4th source of optionality is a low personal burn rate. This is different from fixed costs. Fixed costs are what you must pay. Burn rate is what you actually spend. Fixed plus variable. The lower your total burn rate, the more optionality you have. Here's why this matters psychologically. If you need $200,000 per year to be happy, you have almost no optionality. You can't take a job that pays $120,000, even if it's perfect for you. You can't start a business that won't make money for 2 years. You can't take 6 months off to figure out what you really want. Your happiness is expensive, and expensive happiness destroys optionality. But if you can be genuinely happy, spending $60,000 per year, you have massive optionality. Almost any job works. Almost any business model works. You can take time off. You can explore. You can choose based on what you want to do, not what you need to earn. Let me tell you about 2 tech workers who both got laid off in 2023. Both were 42 years old. Both had worked at big tech companies making $350,000 per year total comp. Worker A had a burn rate of $25,000 per month, $300,000 per year. Big house, $8,000 per month. Nice cars, expensive vacations, private schools, eating out constantly. He'd spent everything he made. His lifestyle required $300,000 minimum to maintain. He had maybe $80,000 saved. When he got laid off, he panicked. He needed to replace $300,000 in income immediately. But tech jobs paying that much were scarce in 2023. He interviewed for 3 months, nothing close to his old salary. He finally took a job paying $240,000 at a company he didn't like, doing work he hated, because he needed the money. No optionality. His high burn rate trapped him. Worker B had a burn rate of $6,000 per month, $72,000 per year. Modest house, paid-off cars, cooked at home, took cheap vacations. He'd been saving $250,000 per year of his $350,000 income for 8 years. Had $2.2 million saved. When he got laid off, he wasn't worried. His burn rate was so low that his savings could last decades. He took 6 months to think about what he actually wanted to do. Turned down multiple high-paying jobs that didn't interest him. Eventually started a small software company building something he cared about. Made only $90,000 the first year. Didn't matter. His burn rate was $72,000. He was profitable from month 1 of running his own business. 2 years later, Worker A is still at the job he hates, making $240,000, trapped because his lifestyle requires it. Worker B's company is making $400,000 per year. He works 30 hours per week on something he loves, and he has complete freedom. The difference was burn rate. Here's the arithmetic that changes everything. If your burn rate is $200,000 per year, you need passive income or earnings of $200,000 minimum to survive. That's a high bar that eliminates most options. If your burn rate is $50,000 per year, you only need $50,000. Almost everything works. You have dramatically more optionality. I've lived on relatively little my entire life. People assume I live some lavish lifestyle because I'm worth $140 billion. I don't. I live in the same modest house. I eat at the same places I ate 40 years ago. My personal burn rate is probably under $100,000 per year, including everything. Why? Because low burn rate equals optionality. I never have to do anything for money. I never have to take a deal I don't like. I never have to compromise my principles for a paycheck. I have complete optionality because I need almost nothing to be happy. The people who need a lot to be happy are imprisoned by that need. Every month, they must earn enough to feed the expensive lifestyle. They can't say no. They can't walk away. They can't take risks. Their high burn rate destroyed their optionality. This is hard because society constantly screams at you to spend more. Upgrade your house. Buy the nicer car. Take the expensive vacation. You deserve it. You worked hard. But every upgrade to your lifestyle is a reduction in your optionality. Every permanent increase in your burn rate is a prison sentence you impose on yourself. Look at your actual spending over the last 6 months. Add it up. Divide by 6. That's your real burn rate. If that number is more than 50% of your post-tax income, you're consuming your optionality. You're giving up freedom for comfort. And when 2026 comes with whatever crisis it brings, you'll have no choices. Cut your burn rate. Move to a cheaper place. Drive cheaper cars. Cook at home. Stop buying things you don't need to impress people you don't like. Every dollar you cut from your burn rate is a dollar of optionality you buy. And optionality is the asset that actually matters. But even with all of this, you'll fail in a crisis without the fifth source. This is the one people ignore, and it's the one that saves you when everything else fails. Source 5. Strong relationships, networks that catch you. The fifth source of optionality is strong relationships. A real network of people who would actually help you in a crisis. Not LinkedIn connections. Not people you met at conferences. Real relationships with people who know you, trust you, and would take your call at midnight if you needed help. Here's why this matters. When you have a crisis, your cash runs out eventually. Your low expenses only buy you time. Your portable skills need someone to hire you. Your low burn rate still requires some income. But relationships catch you when everything else fails. Strong relationships are the ultimate safety net that gives you optionality when you have nothing else left. The problem is that most people have shallow networks. They have 500 LinkedIn connections and 0 friends who would lend them $5,000 in an emergency. They've networked for business, but not built real relationships. And when the crisis comes, they discover their network is worthless. Let me tell you about 2 entrepreneurs who both went bankrupt in 2009. Both lost everything in the financial crisis. Both were 48 years old. Both were starting over from zero. Entrepreneur A had a huge network, 2,000 LinkedIn connections, went to every conference, collected business cards, knew everyone in his industry. But the relationships were all transactional. He'd networked for business, not friendship. When he went bankrupt, he called 50 people from his network asking for help, got 50 polite brush-offs. His network disappeared the moment he couldn't help them back. He spent 2 years trying to get back on his feet, couldn't find funding, couldn't find partners, couldn't get anyone to take a chance on him. His massive network gave him 0 optionality when he actually needed it. Entrepreneur B had a small network, maybe 30 real relationships built over 20 years. But these were deep. He'd helped these people when they struggled. He'd invested time in the relationships when he had nothing to gain. He'd shown up when they needed him. When he went bankrupt, he called 5 people. All 5 helped. 1 let him stay in a guest house, rent-free for 6 months. 1 introduced him to someone who gave him consulting work. 1 lent him $25,000 interest-free to get started again. 1 became a co-founder in his next business. 1 just checked in every week to make sure he was okay. Within 18 months, he had built a new company that was profitable. His network of real relationships gave him the optionality to recover when he had nothing else. By 2015, his new company was doing $5 million in revenue. His strong relationships had caught him when he fell. Same bankruptcy, same starting point of 0, different networks. 1 had thousands of shallow connections that evaporated. 1 had dozens of deep relationships that actually helped. The difference was optionality. Here's another example. 2 corporate executives, both 55 years old in 2020. Both got fired when COVID hit and their companies downsized. Executive A had networked aggressively his entire career, knew everyone, had business cards from 500 important people, but he'd only networked when he needed something, only reached out when he wanted a favor, only stayed in touch when it benefited him. When he got fired, he started calling his network. Nobody helped. They all remembered him as the guy who only called when he wanted something. His network gave him 0 optionality. He struggled for 2 years to find another executive role, finally took a job 3 levels below where he was before. Executive B had built real relationships, stayed in touch with people even when he didn't need anything, helped people when they asked, made introductions, gave advice, celebrated their wins, showed up when they had problems. When he got fired, he made 3 calls. First call got him consulting work within a week. Second call led to a board seat within a month. Third call introduced him to a startup that hired him as COO within 3 months at higher pay than his old job. His strong relationships gave him multiple options immediately. He landed better than before because his network actually cared about him. Here's the arithmetic. If you have 500 shallow connections, you have 500 people who might send you a LinkedIn message but won't actually help you. If you have 20 deep relationships, you have 20 people who will take your call, make introductions, lend you money, let you stay with them, go to bat for you. The 20 deep relationships give you more optionality than the 500 shallow ones. I've built deep relationships over decades. The same partners, the same managers, the same friends for 40, 50, 60 years. When Berkshire needed help in tough times, those relationships came through. When I needed advice, those people answered. When I needed someone to run a business, those relationships knew someone who knew someone. Charlie and I worked together for 60 years. That wasn't transactional. That was a real relationship built on trust, respect, and showing up for each other for decades. That relationship gave both of us optionality we couldn't have had alone. Strong relationships require investment. When you don't need anything, you can't build them in a crisis. You have to build them now. Before 2026, when everything is fine, help people. Show up. Stay in touch. Be someone people actually want to help when you eventually need it. Look at your relationships right now. If you had a crisis tomorrow, lost your job, went bankrupt, had a medical emergency, how many people could you call who would actually help? Not people who would send a nice LinkedIn message. People who would take real action to help you. If that number is less than 5, you don't have optionality from relationships. You have a weak network that will disappear when you need it. Start building real relationships now. Help people. Show up. Invest time in people when you have nothing to gain. That investment becomes optionality when everything else fails. Let me make this simple. Here are the 5 sources of optionality you need before 2026. 1. Cash reserves of 12 to 24 months. Not invested, just sitting there giving you time to make rational decisions instead of desperate ones. 2. Low fixed costs. Cut your monthly nut to the minimum. Every dollar of fixed costs you eliminate is a dollar of freedom you buy. 3. Portable skills. Build skills that transfer across industries. Generalists with broad skills have more optionality than specialists with narrow expertise. 4. Low personal burn rate. Be genuinely happy spending less. Your burn rate determines how much optionality you have in every decision. 5. Strong relationships. Build real networks of people who would actually help you in a crisis. Deep relationships beat shallow connections every time. These 5 sources work together. Cash gives you time. Low fixed costs extend that time. Portable skills give you multiple paths forward. Low burn rate makes almost any path viable. Strong relationships catch you when everything else fails. I'm 94 years old. I've built optionality my entire life. That's why I could say no to deals I didn't like. That's why I could wait years for the right opportunities. That's why I could survive every crisis for 80 years while others got destroyed. Before 2026, you need to ask yourself one question. When the next crisis comes, and it will come, will you be the person with options or the person forced into corners? The people with optionality will buy assets at 50% discounts. The people without it will sell at 50% losses just to survive. Same crisis, opposite outcomes. The difference is the work you do right now, today, to build optionality before you need it. Here's your challenge. Do one thing this week that builds optionality. Put $5,000 in a cash emergency fund. Cancel one subscription you don't need. Learn one new portable skill. Cut one fixed cost from your life. Call one person you haven't talked to in a year just to check in. Just one action that increases your optionality. Because 2026 is coming, and when it arrives with whatever uncertainty it brings, you'll either have options or you'll have desperation. I'm telling you this because I won't be here forever to tell you. The asset you need before 2026 isn't a stock ticker. It's optionality. The ability to make choices when everyone else is backed into corners with none left. Build it now. Build cash. Cut costs. Learn broadly. Spend less. Build relationships. That's optionality. That's the asset that actually matters. That's what separates financial freedom from financial fragility. Now, if you want more brutal honesty about building real wealth, timeless principles that actually work instead of get-rich-quick garbage, subscribe to this channel. We don't promise easy. We don't promise fast. We promise truth. And drop a comment. Which of these 5 sources do you need to build most? Cash, lower costs, portable skills, lower burn rate, stronger relationships? Be honest, because you can't build what you won't acknowledge.